We'll call it 7 o'clock.
It's loading. Okay.
Yep. And we'll say this meeting is open. Ready for the pledge of allegiance. Oh, do we have a quorum? We have a quorum.
Robert, can you hear us?
Hello, Robert.
He's muted. He doesn't know how to unmute himself.
Hey, Robert, you have to unmute yourself.
What is it?
Mr. Logue, can you hear us? Oh, I see him. I tried, but it's not working.
You sure you don't have admin master or he's your meeting? What are you on Zoom?
Yeah, on Zoom.
Yeah, we have one member of the board that's going to be joining us by internet. We got a little bit there. Yeah.
This is where I get my granddaughter to help me turn things on.
Can you unmute him from there? He's asking.
If you see his little profile, the box on your side, because you're facilitating, there should be a part where it lets you turn the mic on and off.
Don't see the. Yeah.
Oh, that,
There you go.
Success.
Try it again, Robert.
okay, okay, so that works. You want to give me video permissions too?
Yes.
Okay. You can call me Bob, by the way. Yeah, my little camera icon is red. There we go.
It's working.
Oh, I got a
Here he is.
batter up.
We can see you.
Gotta have his picture so we can make him chair.
There we go. Now, I don't see y'all, but that's okay.
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 Okay,
So we have a quorum.
we have a quorum.
Okay, we stand for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Sure.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you read the agenda minutes? I don't have a copy in front of me.
The agenda minutes. So that's what she sent you all prior to the meeting.
I didn't get agenda. I just got the letter for Mr. Perez and
So you
Oh,
have a
the
printout,
notice.
but
I don't have that.
Oh, the actual agenda
Yeah,
for tonight.
for tonight, yeah. I can't focus that far.
Mhm.
I guess I could just read off this paragraph. Come on in.
Welcome.
So we're gonna do the
So the next order,
election first, or?
yes, correct. The next order of business is to select a chairman and the vice chairman.
Okay, this is my last meeting as the chair, so open the floor for nominations.
Bob, I would love to nominate you, Bob Logue, to be the chair. Are you agreeable?
I am agreeable. The only thing I would need to talk about is the days of the week we have these meetings. That's the only challenge I'm having. I'm available any other day except Mondays.
Okay, so typically it's gonna fall on the Monday.
Okay. Because the challenge I'm running into is my wife and I have 2 young children, and she runs a private practice, and she's usually seeing clients until 8 o'clock. That's why I'm having to do this meeting virtually.
So is there any reason why we can't change the night of the meeting?
So I would have to check into that with our city administrator, because normally that's what, you know, so for example, P and Z is every Tuesday, you have your Thursdays for the city council, and Mondays are designated for for the Board of Adjustments.
Okay, so should we table the election until after we get an answer back from the city administrator?
We would need to solidify our chair and vice chair. Now, he could, you know, I guess temporarily be like an interim for that. But we would need to select that since we have quorum.
Okay. Well, I second the nomination for Robert. And we'll work out the days. So they will work out the days. You will work out the days.
Okay.
And if we can't work it out, Bob, then you might be the shortest tenured chair that we've had. Okay.
Right. Well, we'll figure that out.
Okay, so all in favor of Robert?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Robert.
Thank you, I think. Thank you for putting the faith in me.
Okay, now for vice chair.
I nominate Charlie.
I thought you might do that. All right, I accept the nomination, and I'll help out Bob any way I can.
Okay, I second, and all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Congratulations.
That's how we get jobs around here, huh? Unpaid.
Yes. Okay, public hearing to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on a request by Ephraim Perez. Are you here tonight? Okay. For a variance to municipal code of ordinances, chapter 98 zoning, section 98-62, authorizing an encroachment on the required front yard setback of 40 feet in a single-family residential district for tracts out of the unplatted area of the Beverly Hills subdivision, recorded as County Block 4469, Parcel 6F, out of Survey Abstract 869, BCAD Property ID number 236954, and County Block 4469, Parcel 6G, out of Survey Abstract 982, BCAD Property ID number 236956, in the official public records of Bexar County, Texas.
So we do have a couple of people that are here to speak.
So we open the floor to the public.
Before the
You
discussion,
want to call them out? Yeah. It's the 2 forms there.
Oh, I'm not speaking.
You're not? Okay.
Okay, so we have one here that has,
is this Florinda Ruiz?
I'm not speaking. He's gonna.
So you'll defer to the next sheet.
That's the only sheet I have.
oh wait,
Okay, for Kenneth Men.
Yep.
11201 Beverly Hills. You want to step up to the podium, please?
Sir?
If you can step up to the podium, please, and give us your name and
Okay. My name is Kenneth Mann. I live at 11201 Beverly Hills. I've lived there for over 30 years. Lived next to my neighbor, Flo, and another neighbor from the next street over. I'm in opposition to them changing anything and actually to even building on that lot. It's in a floodplain. I have personally seen the water up on the street completely covering that entire lot. A photo was mailed to me the other day from some other people in the area that were unable to be here, showing the intersection of Duhaney and Sunset, where when it rained real hard, it completely closed that intersection off. Any building in that floodplain is going to affect people up and down. I wish that more people in the area that live along the floodplain, above and below, would have also been notified, or I guess it was posted on the website. But I wish they would have been able to see this too, because it would affect people everywhere. And like I say, I've seen the water, and she's seen it also because she's my neighbor. And we've seen it on at least 2 occasions where the water has completely covered that lot, and it was up into the street by the telephone poles across the street from it.
According to the map I've got, your property shows 3/4 in the floodplain. Has it not had a problem for you?
I'm directly across the street. I'm not in the floodplain.
Mr. Chair, it's just basically you're just gonna let them
Okay.
speak.
Yeah.
It's
He has
not-
3
there's no
minutes
rebuttal.
to.
Yeah, I'm not in the floodplain. I'm directly across the street. And she's next to me across the street also.
Okay.
From this property. As a matter of fact, our 2 properties are directly across from the properties which you've outlined here. I did put all of this in writing because I didn't know if I was going to be able to come, so I'd like to submit that to you along with the photograph.
Thank you.
I have a recent survey that I obtained from the county, a certified copy of the entire plat and the deed restrictions and everything. And it does show the majority of that lot, majority of that property in question is being unplatted, subject to flooding. And it was never platted from the day that the subdivision was put in. So I don't see where any kind of obstruction that's in that floodplain area won't affect somebody down below. The water on Sunset and Duhaney has actually got up to the house, and that's not even in the floodplain. It's an over.
Okay. If
So-
you could present that information.
Yeah, just go ahead and submit that at the end here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Mr. Perez, did you have any comments?
Well, he's on the agenda, sir.
Sure.
Well, what, no, because you're on the agenda, so you're gonna have your
Okay, so
time.
we'll open the agenda item in a few moments and then we'll
Okay.
ask you to come up.
So if we're done with the public hearing, you can pretty much close that out.
So the public hearing is closed at this time.
Okay.
7:13.
And so I move that we move on to the agenda item number 5. I'm making sure that I can see. Yeah, number 5, items for individual consideration. Donnie, you may have to read out the details of that one.
Okay. Items for individual consideration, discussion of and action on a request by Efrain Perez. I apologize if I mispronounced that, for a variance to municipal code of ordinance chapter 98 zoning, section 9862, authorizing an encroachment on the required front yard setback of 40 feet in a single-family resident district for tracts out of the unplatted area of Beverly Hills subdivision, recorded as County Block 4469, Parcel 6F, out of Survey Abstract 869, BCAD Property ID number 236954, and County Block 4469, Parcel 6G, out of Survey Abstract 982, BCAD Property ID number 236956, in the official public records of Bear County, Texas. And again, this variance is for the setback.
Okay, I have a quick question. The agenda item that was sent out is not the right agenda item.
I agree. The agenda item we have before us is for the setback. Not-
Actually, The agenda item I'm looking at is for a pool. And I have a feeling this is,
It's last time.
That's last time. If you go to the website, it should be on there.
I go to the website. Which website? Is this
The
what was
Helotes-
emailed out as an agenda item in that email?
Bob, you might double check to make sure that you got the most recent of the emails,
Yeah.
just in case. We want to make sure you've got the same information in front of you.
Yeah, because I don't believe I do. This was the one that was sent at 10:49. Just a reminder.
Okay, the one prior to that was the official one.
Okay.
And I was able to access it through the link that was within the original
Yeah.
email.
Right, let me try that. Pulls up that doesn't help. I'll keep going, keep going, keep going. I'll find it.
Okay, Mr. Logan would have been sent out on the 9th.
The 9th.
So just for clarification, the agenda item's been opened now, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You want me to, I can kind of summarize it and go through it for y'all before, that way you can,
just an item for clarification for the city crowd and for all of us as well. Because we have one member who is not participating tonight, I want to make sure that we clarify that if we go to a vote tonight, yes or no on this variance, we would have to vote unanimously. All four that are voting members would have to vote unanimously to pass this. It can't pass with just 3 out of 4. If we had the larger group of Board of Adjustments members here, you could have a no vote and still pass. So I don't know if it's available, but if there is an option for a request from the audience to postpone a vote tonight, would that be allowable or
no,
not?
because we do have quorum. After that, the only alternative was to look into like an appeal or something, but we do have quorum, so we would have to vote on it tonight.
Okay, so the agenda item is open.
Correct.
We'll discuss. And if we get a motion to consider and vote, then we would move forward.
Right.
Okay,
And
Thank you.
again,
But we
everybody
still vote.
understands it is on the setback.
The
as
front
far as the
yard
agenda
setback.
item.
Yeah, so let me just kind of dig into that a little bit, okay? So this is just a preliminary site plan review that was conducted by our city inspector. Obviously, it would be disapproved because we're looking at a 30-foot setback as opposed to a 40-foot. Now, one of the things that I just want to kind of confirm or fill you in on is if we look at this is the plat in Beverly Hills. So this red box is primarily the real estate that Mr. Pettis is going to replat. He's going to remove the line here in the middle. Now, I know it's very difficult to see, but this is like the original plat for that subdivision. And so if you look at this hash line here, so first of all, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5, these were previously platted before our code of ordinances, right? So our code says, hey, we need a 40-foot front yard setback. This was platted prior to that, so it's basically exempt from that, right? So this line actually represents a 30-foot setback. If you can see that line there, it says 30 foot, okay? So primarily, he would have to plat and then move back an additional 10 feet of his setback back here, right? So just so you know, previously that's the way the neighborhood was platted. This particular plat was not, or this particular parcel wasn't platted at that time. And you can see that it says that right here, it's unplatted. And part of the reason is because this other line here is part of your floodplain, okay? So it just says, subject to flooding. Now, just for clarity, this dotted line going down, okay, is where it floods, okay? If I can go a little further here. This again is a subject property. This gives you a better view of like, this dark green here, underneath the orange is basically your floodplain. You know, when you look this up in BCAT, it's gonna tell you that this is subject to flooding, okay? What I do kind of also want to point out though is that Mr. Pettis has he's worked in conjunction with an engineer and again, they're here, they'll be able to field some questions. But basically, they've pretty much designed the house so that it kind of runs horizontal, not too much of it going vertical, so that they minimize the footprint in the floodplain. Now, I'm not an engineer, but obviously, you know, when it comes to the design and approval from the city inspector or the city, you know, as far as reviewing the plans and accepting those, obviously there'll be some elevation certificates and things like that that will have to be considered. I'm not, you know, not saying that it's not doable, but that's just basically where it stands.
Is that drawing as far as the footprint of the house, is that a 30-foot or a 40-foot setback?
That's the 30-foot setback.
Okay,
You'll see right here where it says on the very top, it says 30-foot proposed building setback, and then right underneath there it says, you know, what they want. The variance is the yellow line. There's 2 yellow lines. It'll be the second yellow line. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Let me ask you a question. If they were to build the house with the 40-foot setback, they would still be basically in the floodplain.
I'm sorry, but they're looking for a 30-foot setback. I just want to make
But
sure.
I understand that. I understand that.
Okay, go ahead.
My question is, if, let's say they were going to build it and they did not need to get a variance, they would still be building in the floodplain, right?
Well, that part of the approval process is that he would pull a permit to construct the house, but he'd also pull a floodplain development permit. And
Yeah.
so there's a minimal impact to the floodplain. You know, their engineer has to engineer the structure so that there's a minimal footprint in that.
Okay.
Now, no doubt there's the associated personal costs, insurance increases and things like that.
Right.
Would have to be borne.
Right.
Now, again, just as clarification, if they were to build with the full 40-foot setback and push everything else right against the floodplain barrier, the line, but not into the floodplain, we wouldn't be here right now having this meeting, and they could build immediately.
Correct.
So that option is on the table. It may not be the most attractive option, but it's there.
But if we granted a 30-foot setback, then that would move that line to a safer position.
Well, if we granted the 30-foot setback tonight, then the house would be built as it is proposed now, where the most front forward piece of the design is about 10 feet in excess of today's setback requirement. And the longer section of the house towards the middle of the property is exceeding that setback by, it looks like about 6 or 7 feet, maybe.
So from what I'm hearing is that the issue really has to do with circumstances being created by the property. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, this
Yes,
is,
as far as the floodplain,
yeah, definitely the floodplain is a clear geographic feature that's in the way of construction towards the back.
Okay. Okay.
A question for the city again. Sorry, I'm bringing so many
That's okay.
details, but I hope to have people's brains running here. Flat work and swimming pools and things like that,
Not
those are not part of our regulation
Correct.
in regard to setbacks and boundaries.
correct.
Okay, that's a key piece that sometimes myself included, I've got to remind myself.
And again, this is,
So that would mean that, for example, a unattached pool could be set in the floodplain area and not subject the house to
correct,
any of our requirements.
will be allowed. Yep.
All right.
So again, I just want to again confirm, like, the 30-foot setback pretty much exists for everybody else. It's just that he's platting after the ordinance was written. So there's an encroachment of 10 feet.
So the pool and the hot tub could essentially be over the flood.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the septic tank?
We,
You have septic, that's what I'm worried about.
we won't. So I'll not speak on y'all's behalf because we're not allowed to read.
Yeah,
or
understood.
answer those questions, but Bear County is gonna regulate sewer and septic that's existing. Now, if we bring up their engineer, they are addressing, some of the issues with sewer and septic, so
Well,
that may be something that we can refer to their engineer for.
yeah, so normally at the meeting, we would open the floor to
Correct.
to the applicant to speak or to have someone speak for them. So, Donnie, if you'd like to invite him up, we can.
Yes, please.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Aguilar. I'm with Bear Engineers and Associates. Just a brief little history on me. I did work for San Antonio River Authority while the FEMA maps were being created. I was part of that whole Bear County mapping of these floodplains. I was also the floodplain administrator for the city of San Antonio. Then I decided to start my own firm, and here we are today. Just wanted to let you know that I do have a drainage background and floodplain background. So for this side, Mr. Efrain wants to be part of the community, as you guys have heard. So he approached us to find out what the floodplain was in actuality so he could build the house. Two things. The floodplain that's shown currently here is the current FEMA floodplain, which the house would be designed to be outside of that. The other thing is we did run the new Atlas 14 model with new LiDAR and some survey. And the line essentially stays the same. There was no major change at all. As far as any flooding that may have been observed at Beverly Hills at some point, it could have been a higher event than a 100-year event. Sometimes it does happen. The 100-year event is a 1% chance annually of happening. But if you get more than the amount of rainfall in some period, there are chances that something will flat. But that's any structure. That's any a car could be lodged in a culvert and it could cause flooding. A log could cause flooding and other issues. So I always used to tell people when they would come in and they would tell me the opposite, right? I've never seen this property flood, and I explained to them, well, you may have never seen it, but it could not. Maybe it wasn't a 100-year flood, and something could happen that could cause it to flood. So it's not really maybe on top of a hill, but there's really no safe area to avoid flooding. So the best thing we can do is run our models, take our best available data, topography, survey, and then run the latest flood calculations and show where the house would be safe. As mentioned, we would do an elevation certificate pre-construction. So we would have this is where the flood area, this is where the house is going to sit. And then the post-elevation certificate would show that the house would be elevated possibly 2-3 feet, depending on where we end up with the study. So that would keep the house safe. That would also keep any neighbor safe, that it wouldn't generate any more flooding. That's one of the conditions from the city and PMIs to when you're doing this kind of thing, you can't cause damage to your neighbors or downstream. So that would be one of the things that we would do as the engineer, is to make sure that this property is not going to cause damage to itself or to other people outside of that. I'm not the septic designer, but we are working closer with the septic designer, JSP Engineering. So there are regulations that come in with the septic. The septic field in this case would be located outside the floodplain. This property also requires a well. The well would be I believe currently would be in the floodplain. It's just, again, has to be a separation, 150-foot radius between the well and the septic system. So that is all being taken care of, so that we don't get any floating septic tanks or septic field in the floodplain. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, well, and for the record, the water well plan was included in the application tonight. There's a map of it in the back, so you can see where the location is meant, or at least planned to be. I don't know if the septic plan was included in that drawing or not. Yeah, so there's the water well setback is shown in the drawing that's on the board right now.
The shaded area is where the septic area would be, and it's all outside the floodplain.
And I guess we assume that's one of the newer aerobic systems. That would
Yes.
be. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Are there any questions or any more for the engineer?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else you'd like to address?
Yeah, the applicant themselves and you guys are okay? You're welcome to come up if you'd like to. Yeah. All right. Well, then
I guess you can open up for discussion amongst yourselves now.
I would move that we open this item up for discussion amongst the board. And I guess I would start with just the comment that, it's everybody wants to move into certain areas, and there's some properties that are very easy to build on, and there's some that are very tough to build on. In this case, this property presents several challenges to us. One, in that it was never platted with the original community. And so that gives us the situation now that we're having to at least consider that platting it now requires that we enforce the newer 40-foot setback. That's a citywide rule versus the original 30-foot that was considered and planned for that neighborhood through all of the platted properties in the neighborhood. We can only make the assumption now because of the notes on the floodplain map that these two lots were not platted because they were considered unbuildable at the time, and so were not platted for building. Of course, it's like the applicant is planning to do. It's in everybody's right to apply for platting changes and things like that. That's available to all citizens. In most cases, we do seek input from the neighbors that are in the area. Our typical mailing is anyone that's within 200 feet of the subject property, I believe.
Okay.
And so there would have been mail that would have been sent to anyone within that 200-foot area. Tonight, we have two that have shown up, or possibly.
May I, excuse me if I'm interrupting you, but I don't live within the 200-yard area, but I live on the other side of Beverly Hills, which is Sunset. And I do have a problem with, and it's not just a 100-year flood event. It happens more often than that. I've been there 46 years. And I have seen where it has come, the water has come up, when it backs up, it comes up all the way to the
Mr.
corner
Chair,
of our
public
neighbor,
hearing is
next door
closed.
neighbor.
Understood. I apologize, but I have to stop you. We closed the public comment period. However, I was asking a question, and I appreciate the
Well,
willingness to share. Yeah,
the point I was trying to make was I didn't get a letter,
understood.
but I feel like I would be affected.
Well, so we haven't. We've heard from one person speaking to be heard tonight who is within the 200 feet. And so we have that on record. Maybe I'll close it there and see if any of the other board members have any discussion.
I guess I'm curious, why are we not attempting to build the pool and this hot tub further back so that they stay at the 40 line? Because the house can shift back as well.
That's our job is not to be designers or engineers, and I struggle because I'm an engineer by training. But it's a fair question amongst us. We're not required to offer solutions, but it looks like there may be a solution here that would be within the current rules that would be applied to this property.
But again, in terms of what we're dealing with tonight is the 30-foot versus 40-foot setback. And if we were to grant that request, then that, to me, says that that house would sit inside.
It would be outside of the floodplain.
Floodplain area.
It would be, it would not encroach into the floodplain, and it would meet all requirements of building the way it is shown now in the plan. It would only break the 40-foot setback rule that we have today.
So it's only encroaching by 10 feet.
Say again?
It's only encroaching by 10 feet.
Yes.
And the other homes that were there did not have the 40-foot.
Correct.
They were
At the time they platted.
They were the 30-foot, and the risk is to the individual. The risk is to the individual that wants to build a house there.
I agree.
Our job is to say, should we grant that, and what reason would we have to not grant it?
What's the whole purpose of the setback to begin with? Why 40 feet versus 30 feet?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, Bob, I can't answer for the city, but to maintain a uniformity of construction within a neighborhood.
Okay.
In this case, I think I'm on the same page with you that everyone else in the neighborhood built with a 30-foot setback as a requirement.
Right.
And this replatting would force a new requirement upon these two lots that would be different than all the other lots in the subdivision.
Correct. And what I'm also hearing is that if they were to build one way or the other, they're going to build on that lot. And that's what's going to happen. And that's fine. I'm good with that. And I don't know that it's, that the city's, we have to be very fair. And to your point about all the other lots having a 30-foot setback, and now we're coming in and saying, okay, because it was unplatted, we're gonna put you under these new rules in an existing subdivision that had older rules. I think we're kind of not really being fair to all the property owners. I think we need to kind of look at, okay, this was originally set up with a 30-foot setback. Everybody was good there. So I really wouldn't have a problem approving going to the 30-foot setback. I don't think it's unreasonable. And I also think that the owner is having to work within the circumstances being dictated not by something he's done or she's done, but really by the property. And that's really what the BOA is for, is to make adjustments based on circumstances beyond the owner's control.
Comment?
Yeah, no response from me. Thanks for the input, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Elizabeth?
I have a question. I'm going to assume that, because they have one property on one side of them, and then they have properties on the other side. Those are all at the 30 mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the image that's in the packet,
Right here.
I recognized that the photograph that we see the architectural drawing superimposed on, that's an older photograph, I believe. there is, and this is a question to the city, you can look at Google Maps or to the crowd, but there is a newer construction house adjacent to this property. Am I correct? Yeah, you may,
Yes.
okay. It looked to me like it's not an empty lot next door. There is a house there, and it's also pushed towards this construction site. It's only about 25 feet from the side yard.
It's on a 60-foot setback.
So it's a little farther back on the property. Thank you for the input.
Okay, any other inputs?
No other questions for me. I would offer that we had something a bit similar to this sometime back. Different neighborhood, but here in Helotes, where the property owner added a carport to the front of the house. And it extended beyond the setback. And the property owner, it was probably about 10 feet into the setback. Some of the neighbors argued that the property owner should be required to tear down the carport and change the design. And we voted yes, that he must move the carport. That citizen challenged the city in court and still has a carport. So that doesn't set a precedent. Every property is different. Every circumstance is different. And that's why we're here. We have to think about, why is this different than others? I think here the extenuating circumstance is really the 30-foot setback that was historically utilized in this entire community versus the 40-foot that's now today's new requirement. At least for me, that's the key factor.
Okay. I don't have my agenda in front of me. The next step would be
You need a motion for us
a
to
motion for a vote.
vote, yes. I'll forward a motion to, I'll forward a motion to vote on passage of the agenda item being considered tonight.
And
I'll
the
second.
agenda item in number 5 is a 30-foot setback versus a 40-foot setback.
That's correct.
Just
And Bob, were you
for
going to second that?
clarification.
Yeah, I'll second the motion to approve the variance.
All right.
Okay. So you want to start off with your vote, Robert?
I vote that we go ahead and approve a setback not to, of 30 feet.
Okay.
as proposed.
Elizabeth?
I'll go 30 feet.
Yeah, aye.
Then it's unanimous. Welcome to Helotes. And this is my last meeting. I just want to say that I've enjoyed this opportunity and I appreciate everybody's input.
As your last act, then I move that we close the meeting and,
Close the meeting at 7:44.
okay,
Closed.
thank you. Thank you,
This is
everyone.
yours, Robert.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Robert.
We'll
thanks
see you
for the
next time.
understanding.
Thank you.
And thank you for the vote of confidence.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And it's heartfelt welcome.